I'm back with a new project. Today I'm setting up my flip loom with a direct warp as a sample slash project used in service of a bigger project. So the bigger project is weaving a throw for a dear friend of mine. And oh, yep, there's a kitty right there in frame. I'm weaving a double wide throw on my floor loom for a dear friend of mine. But before I commit, and this thing will end up being, we've set up all the specs, it will be about 70 inches wide by 84 inches long. Uh, and that's a lot of yarn. That's a 3.5 yard warp, which isn't so much, but it's a double width, double weave project. 70, it'll end up being about 70 inches wide after it's wet finished. So that's a significant amount of yarn. Before I commit that amount of yarn, it's going to be roughly 4 1 pound cones of yarn in the warp and the weft total. So before I commit 4 cones of yarn to a project that size, I want to start out small and achieve several things with this sample that I'm weaving on my flip. The first thing I want to do is check sett because I am going to use mercerized cotton for the warp of the blanket. Ideally, I'm going to use 3/2 mercerized cotton, and I'm going to try it on my flip at 12 ends per inch. Then I'm going to use chenille for the weft in different colors, and in a second I'll show you what that looks like. Uh, so I want to check the sett. I also want to see how the colors play together and uh, see what sorts of patterns I might enjoy. Finally, I want to end up with a sample that doesn't just get thrown away. So I have set up my warping peg, which you can just barely see in amongst those cones of yarn on my floor loom bench. I've set up my warping peg for a 2.5 yard warp, which will give me a 6 foot woven length, 2 yards, with fringe at the end that will be wide enough to be a wrap. So to uh, execute this multi-layered project, I've done a couple of things. The first thing I did is sketch out some possible stripe patterns with my cotton warp. And this is what I ended up doing. And this is really messy and really rough, but it just gives me a sense of how I want to thread my warp colors. So I have finished the center sections here. You can just barely see. I finished the purple, the ink, and the purple that are right here in the center. And now I'm going to fill in with the navy, which is a 5/2 cotton. In other words, I am running 2 sett experiments at once just to see how it plays out. And then I will fill in the 2 ends with the purple. And that's just the warp. So these are my 3 warp colors. Again, I've got a 3/2 cotton, I've got a 3/2 cotton, and then I've got a 5/2 cotton. And then for the weft, I guess this is the 4th pattern or the 4th goal for this sampling project. As you know, I have been watching a lot of Jane Stafford videos from her 1st and 2nd seasons where she's talking about basic weaving skills, and in season 2 about color and design. So along the length of this wrap, I am going to play with different kinds of patterns. And that way, when my friend sees what it all looks like, and I'm likely to send it to her, we both have a reference for what is possible so that she can choose the ultimate pattern, weft pattern for her throw. And then she gets a wrap, and these are colors she loves. She's loved them for as long as I've known her, which has been for almost 40 years. So these are colors she loves. So don't tell her, but I think she'll actually enjoy this surprise gift to go along with the throw for her living room. So I've got a navy that is so dark. It's a color called Midnight. It's a rayon chenille. It's so dark it's almost black. In fact, I keep checking it against my black yarns and my blue yarns to see if it really is blue, and it just barely is, but it's skirting the edge. Then I've got just a small amount of a color called Amethyst, and this is a color I should be able to get more of. I've got a color called Iris, and this was given to me by somebody else, so I probably can't get more of it. I've got a color called Navy, which I think was also given to me by somebody else, so I can't get more of it. And then for my zinger color, in small amounts, probably, but who knows? I've got this wild multicolor, which made my friend's eyes light up the second she saw it. So uh, there's no reason you can't achieve multiple goals with one project on one warp or one sample warp and just see how things play out. So this is a great opportunity for me to try out some colors, try out two sets in one with the two different yarns, try out warp colors against weft colors, try out weft color patterning, and get a usable project all without using an extensive amount of yarn. So you'll hear a lot more about this project as it develops. Of course, I'm always running 3 or 4 projects at once, which might be why I never seem to get anything done. For those of you who follow me on YouTube, I swear I actually do get things done. And in the not too distant future, I will show you what's happening with the deflected double weave scarf and the wrap that I just took off this rigid heddle loom, because they are now off the loom and ready for final stages. So join me on this journey.